Is it safe to assume that the Canadian experience might be one of the biggest challenges that everybody faces when they come to Canada?
100%.
Or the lack of it?
The lack of it, yeah.
What is the Canadian experience?
I could talk for hours on this topic. I'm trying to be succinct now and put all of my thoughts on it.
Is it safe to say that I feel some sarcasm coming from you, or are you tired of talking about the Canadian experience?
Oh, I talk about it a lot because I always ask employers and like why is so first things first, I would say is Canada is not a very innovative country in general, okay? We still use checks here. You know, IRCC got rid of facsimile in the last 3 months. So like we're very far behind. A lot of in construction sector or in other areas, we get a lot of our ideas from Europe primarily. That's not to say that great ideas can't come from anywhere else, but the fact is that a lot of the new ideas come from outside of Canada. So we're a slow adopter. Having a flawed obsession with local experience, when you're a slow adopter, is making a decision against innovation. Because you either do things the old way or you innovate. And this obsession with local experience is basically saying we do not want to innovate. So my challenge, I guess, in Canada is I go to conferences across different sectors and things like that, but we always chime about how innovative we are, but nobody faces facts and said, no, we're actually falling behind. And the big problem we have, and this applies to individuals as well, if you think you're the best at something, how do you improve? You need to get rid of ego and you need to assess yourself very candidly and say, okay, I can get better. We can all get better at everything, but what I find in the industry, in particular the construction industry, we keep chiming about how innovative we are, and we got to face facts and realize that the newcomers coming in from, Western countries in particular, the likes of, London or Paris or Sydney, they're coming in and they're typically 5-10 years ahead of the local talent, So we should be embracing that, global innovation and trying to harness it. But instead, employers across all sectors, they obsess about how long it will take you to teach how to do things our way. Instead of saying, here's the problem, what way would you solve this problem? This is how we would do it, and then finding the best way, right? Mm-hmm. So it really stifles Canada's productivity, the fact that we have a flawed obsession. When I'm dealing with newcomers, I always tell them, you have to play the game. You have to acknowledge that it's important to them. You ask questions around the training that you're going to get. You acknowledge that there are different standards in your industry, or there's different contracts, or you understand what's different, and you need to speak directly to your understanding of that problem and your need to adapt, because everyone needs to adapt. It doesn't matter. When I make that point about flawed obsession with Canadian experience, Canadians often interpret it as I'm saying that international people are better. It's not about that. We can't compare saying one is better than the others. We have to say is solving the problem the best way is the end goal, not doing it one way or another. You need to find out, and maybe it's a combination of both outlooks, right? So I always encourage people to be, when you're dealing with a newcomer, start asking them, what are your thoughts here? Because when we come in from different countries, we come in with different ideas, different procedures, different processes. But the critical thing is that we can convince a Canadian employer that we're dedicated to understanding their process first. But from that point, we need to be a little bit more open, right? I just find in Canada that it's the Canadian way or nothing, right? And if you don't play that game, that they just don't want to hire you, right? I've often had candidates saying, if that company is so obsessed with local experience, they're not the right choice for me.